Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, hey Troy, soldier, attention.
Sir, First Class McManus reporting for duty, sir.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. How about signing out for me?
Sir, First Class McManus out.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you. So,
Okay, twisted, tied up there.
Pardon okay. Tourette syndrome.
Yeah, pardon my Tourette's.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
All right.
So tell me, when did you join the Army, Troy?
Well, initially I joined in 1990, fresh out of high school. 30 days after graduating high school, I left for basic training.
Okay.
I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then on to Fort Bliss for AIT for 16 Romeo. We Vulcan gunners,
Yeah.
And then from there, my first duty assignment was actually Korea. I was in Alpha Battery 5580A over there, RC4 in Korea. Served with a fellow paratrooper over there named Sergeant Skadberg. He was a cool cat, man. Got a mustard stain in Panama, and he used to tell me stories about that all the time. Served with a bunch of great guys over in Alpha 55, and then in January of 92 January 92 is when I came to Fort Bragg.
Oh, wow. And
through all of it, I ended up spending 15 years at Fort Bragg.
Wow.
Yeah, most of it in 3488. And, I had a break in service from November of 96 until April of 2001. And I did commercial roofing down there in North Carolina. And then I was in between jobs, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go back in the Army. And so I signed back up, had to go back through basic training all over again, went to Fort Sill the second time. And because I'd been out for so long, it was too much of a gap. Apparently anything more than 3 years, they make you go back through now. But so I went back to Fort Bliss, because I went back in as a 14 Sierra, same as I got out as. And my AIT got kind of cut short because I was prior service and I was in the same MOS. So I just tested out, basically. Mr. O down there at Fort Bliss, Texas, who was running the schoolhouse back then, he was like, yeah, man, just give me your NCOERs and I'll send them up to the commandant and see if we can get you graduated early. So not only did he do that, but then he offered me a job. I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't want to be back down. I was back to E2 private again because I'd lost all my rank and stuff coming back in. And I was like, yeah, no, me being a private at the schoolhouse is probably not a good idea for me. All these NCOs running around here, I don't want to have to deal with that. So anyway, long story short, I graduated early, went back to building 2 down there to assignments, and there's a PFC behind the counter. She says, okay, I told her why I was there, that I graduated early. I needed my orders cut. And she's like, well, where do you want to go? I said, well, I was supposed to go to Korea coming back in. That's what's in my contract. But I said, but if you can give me Fort Bragg, I'd love you forever. That'd be awesome.
Right.
And sure as heck, man, about 2 hours later, she called me up. She says, hey, come on back down here. I got your orders to Fort Bragg. I'm like, that's sweet. So I did email back over to Fort Bragg, which was home,
Right.
Went back and I had called Sergeant Major Ridgway was a battalion sergeant major at the time. And I said, you know, I was in Delta Battery before I left the Army, and I'd really like to go back to Delta Battery if you got a slot there for me. And he says, yeah, I think we can hook you up. And then I get back to replacement, and I'm going through the thing, and I go to breakfast one morning, and I run into then Sergeant First Class Juan Ferreira, and he's like, dude, I know you, man. And we started talking and stuff. He introduced me to First Sergeant Middlebrook, and next thing I know, I'm going to battalion for, you know, in processing, and Sergeant Major tells me I'm going to Bravo Battery because I think they had spoken up to the Sergeant Major and say, hey, we got this new guy, McManus, coming in. He's a jump master. Come bring him back in Bravo Battery.
Right.
So it was an interesting experience, you know, going back through. I was, you know, E2 private again, wearing senior wings, and that was a trip in itself.
Right.
I was actually in the shopette down on Ardennes there, and I was standing in the line, and this staff sergeant master blaster was standing behind me, and I turned around, I said something to him about the line being slow or something like that. He says, hey, wait a minute. What? Whoa. Why are you wearing senior jump master wing? I said, crack kills, Sarge, crack kills, man. That's all I said to him. He's like, wait, you're that jump master I heard about that's coming back in that was out for a while, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. He goes, okay. He goes, yeah, we heard about you down the street already. I'm like, oh, okay. So went back in Bravo Battery. I was back doing Stinger stuff, you know, 14 Sierra. Enjoyed it. Had a great time. I got kind of bumped up to the ranks my second go around pretty quick, you know. Like as soon as I met time and grade stuff, they were kicking me up. I think I was E2 for like 3 months, and then PFC for 3 months, and then they promoted me to specialist. And because I had already done PLDC and everything, when they did my promotion to E4, we had a battery formation out back there, and the XO, he read the orders for specialist, and then he literally took a deep breath and started reading the orders for lateral promotion to corporal.
I love it.
You know, so now I'd met one of my goals, man. I wanted to be a corporal, so I could. And I went back to jump master refresher, which was, you know, that time in the harness doing JMPI is just a killer, you know. But I was glad I did it and got through it relatively quickly. First time go through that. And next thing I know, I'm doing jump master duties as a corporal, you know, just living the airborne dream, you know. Not long after that, went to the E5 board, and the E5 board was really strange for me because I literally walked in and, you know, reported without stuttering that time. And then Sergeant Major Ridgway, he looked up and down the table, and he's like, anybody got any questions for Corporal McManus? You know? And I remember it was First Sergeant Leach. He just said, I just got to know, why did you come back in and try to do this all over again? I said, well, you know, I said it was kind of bred into me when I was here the first time, and when I got out, I regretted it, and I had the opportunity to come back in and do it all over again. So here I am, you know. it's funny how you miss things like that when you're out, you know.
Right.
But anyway, got promoted to sergeant relatively quickly after the board, and then our deployment to Iraq came up. Bravo Battery, 3-4. We were the first air defenders from the 82nd to get assigned to go to Iraq.
Okay.
Already had some guys in Afghanistan and doing that whole thing, but we were the first. We went with 2nd Brigade combat team there at the Falcons, and basically what happened was we had a gunnery, an aerial gunnery for all the Avenger guys in the battery. And out of that gunnery, they picked the top 4 Avenger teams. And then through evaluation, they picked also the top 4 Stinger teams. So we had 4 Avengers, 4 Stinger teams. And basically we made like a super platoon. It was all the top guys in the battery, you know. Kind of an interesting concept, but it was what it was. You know, they wanted the best of the best, and Bravo Battery at the time was the best, you know, and they picked the cream of the crop out of that group and put us all together in what they called Team Bravo. And it was funny because when we did the gunnery, I was in 3rd Platoon, Bravo Battery, and we go to gunnery, and I had now retired Sergeant Major Hockenberry was my platoon sergeant, and I had Sergeant Rosa as my squad leader, and our lieutenant. All these guys that said, "Okay, you knock it out of the sky, we'll buy you a case of Bud, case of beer," you know. So each of them fessed up to saying they'd buy a case of beer for anybody to knock this Rick mat out of the sky. You know?
Right.
Well, I was on me and my gunner. We were Bravo 3-1. I was the section sergeant, kind of, sort of, but I was not officially the section sergeant at the time. Anyway, we get up there. It was our turn to shoot. So my gunner fired from the turret. I fired from the RC unit. So I get up there. I go first. I shoot. Knock it clean out of the sky, man. Knock the wing off of it. It comes down. Everybody's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. First one down for the day. And then my gunner, guy named Signs, Robert Signs, awesome dude, man. He's up in the turret, and it was his turn. He's tracking, locks on it, fires, boom, gone. Just barrels down into the bushes, right? So now both my gunner and myself had knocked this thing out. So that's 6 cases of beer, right?
A lot of beer.
Do the math, right? Beer math. 2 guys times brick mat a piece, that's 6 cases. So we finally got our beer right before we left. We had a little get together and drank some beers and stuff. And then go down range. We're in Kuwait. We're getting ready to go across the border. First, they said they were going to jump it. Okay. The Stinger guys were going to jump. The Avenger guys were going to air land and take the airfield in Baghdad. That was the plan. Okay. Well, crazy things happened, and you know how the Army works. Nothing goes according to plan.
Right.
So through all the rehearsals and everything, this is what's going to happen. You know, I remember Sergeant Major Thorpe out there yelling at the Division S3 Air. He's like, you might as well take these old manifests and shove them up your butt. You might as well wipe your butt with them. They ain't no good for nothing. Because 54 jumpers was the number, man. That was the magic number. And there was manifests with guys on there, 61, 60, and some of them have 56, and it was just all kinds of wrong. And Sergeant Major Thorpe, he was getting after it. I felt sorry for the guy. And then Colonel Bray was the brigade commander at the time, and he basically came out and said, "Look, if you don't kill people, lead people to kill people, or fix people to kill people, you ain't jumping on my aircrafts."
Right.
Bottom line, that's the way it is, and that's how it's going to be. They had these JAG guys on there and all these numbers that didn't add up and stuff. And so anyway, they finally got that all sorted out. We're in the middle of rehearsal, got guys rigged up, it was full dress rehearsal. So guys in parachutes and all this stuff. Well, then how about the air siren starts going off as a Scud attack, right?
No.
So now we got to get all these Muldoons out of the aircrafts and into bunker areas for this alert. That was crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, like 2 days later, they scrubbed track on the whole thing, and they said, "Okay, we're going to convoy into Iraq." Something happened. The 101st missed their window or whatever, and we ended up kind of like leapfrogging with them all the way up through Iraq. They stopped short down by the Cottam airfield, somewhere down in there, and we ended up bounding all the way, fighting our way all the way up through to Baghdad. Took us about a good month and a half to get from when we crossed the border to when we entered Baghdad. But I mean, a lot of time wondering what was next, wondering if we were going to get ambushed or, if the bad guys were going to get froggy and want to test us or whatever. And I remember April 1st, we're sitting outside of Osamawa in the desert, and we hadn't gone into town yet. It was just the brigade talk and like some support elements and the air defense guys. We were all out there defending the brigade talk from any aircraft that might come in. Also ground forces too, because we had the night sights with the flare and all that stuff. Anyway, we're sitting there, and our lieutenant, he comes over and he's like, "Dude," he goes, "Man, we are screwed." He goes, "Third Armor, they just got hit with chemical munitions, and 3/4 of the Third Army is decimated, and the Marines are getting their butt whooped right now, and we're next. We're going up, man. We're going up hard, and you better be ready." He let us on, man, for about good 15, 20 minutes, man. Then he broke it down to us that it was April Fool's Day, and it was like, that was a joke.
Oh no.
It's like, "Sir, if you weren't a lieutenant right now, I'd shoot you right between the eyes," because that's not a funny joke at all, man.
It's not a funny joke.
But so anyway, I was going to show you, this is my coffee cup that my wife made me,
I love it. Look at that.
had made for me. At the 82nd on there, Master Jump Wings, and then turn it around. It's got a picture of me.
Oh, look at that picture, man. Yeah. That's the Troy McManus I remember right there. I love it, dude. You look great.
That's my last DA photo right there. Got that taken in Korea.
I love it.
But yeah, she had that made for me for Christmas, man. Brought a tear to my eye. I was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool."
So tell me about combat. Did you ever fire your weapon? Did you ever get shot at? Did you ever have to run for a bunker when things were going crazy? Tell me about some of that adrenaline.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what I can tell you, because it's still to this day really hard for me to talk about a lot of stuff that happened over there. But the answer to the questions are yes. And there was some days that were easier than others, obviously. We got into our share of engagements, if you will, for being air defenders and not being, the infantry bubba is supposed to be kicking down doors and kicking ass and taking names. We had a lot of stuff go down with us, around us. We were involved in a lot of stuff, one incident that stands out really big to me was one night we used to take like 2-day shifts at the brigade talk as security for the front entrance for the brigade talk. We had an Avenger sitting out there and we were the cover and overwatch for the brigade entrance, and the MPs and the infantry bubbas, they would check incoming convoys and whatnot. And we were their overwatch, man. We had the 50 cal with the night vision and we were good to go. So one night we're doing shift change and me and my gunner and my partner and his gunner had just swapped out and we're in the process of it actually. And it was just dark enough to where you couldn't really see the colors on the vehicles out on the road because we were at a Scania facility just off the highway in the west side of Baghdad. No, it was the east side. I'm sorry. So we're sitting there and we're going through our shift brief change stuff, and this van pulls up right in front of the brigade talk. This guy pops up out of the top of the van, fires an RPG straight at us. I mean, like straight coming right at us. And, we all ducked down behind the bunker there that we had built. And the RPG, it flew over top of our heads over the wall and then ended up skidding down the driveway or the parking area in the brigade talk. Didn't hit nothing, nobody. Missed the defact tent by about a foot going down through there, but it never went off. And come to find out, the guy had forgot to take the safety pin out of the nose cone. So it wouldn't detonate, and that was a Harry Carey. It was a pucker factor 10 moment right there. And then there was a couple other ones, I personally shot at several objects. We had one roadblock we were doing. It was a checkpoint, and guy tried to blow the checkpoint, and I just pulled up from the hip. Man, I had my M4 on a lanyard. I just pulled up from the hip and shot at the back tire, and he stopped real quick.
I bet he did.
When he realized that probably isn't a smart thing to do. I don't really want to go into too much detail about other stuff because it's really hard to talk about. But the long answer to the short question is yes. And there was multiple occasions when things went down. And this was all during my first tour in Iraq. I'm a buck sergeant. And I've got Staff Sergeant Edmiston is my partner. He's my team chief on our vehicle because we worked in shifts, kind of 4-man teams on an Avenger system. So when we went out the wire, it was typically 3 people. They had a driver, the TC, and then the guy up in the gun. But when we did brigade talk duties, it was 2-man teams. So it was a little different. But You know, we had about 6 months in country, and then the rest of Bravo Battery joined up with us over there. And once they did, then we kind of had a mission change. We went from doing the rebuilding and infrastructure work for all the fuel stations in Baghdad to route security. You know, we had pretty good chunk of the highway that we were responsible for patrolling and monitoring and stuff. There was one night, guy named Sergeant Kraft came and he's like, "Hey man, can I borrow your truck? Because mine's down, needs some work done on it." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. That's fine." So some of his guys were in the shop with his vehicle. He took my truck out on the road, and they ended up getting hit that night with IED. And Sergeant Kraft lost his leg that night. But you know what? I never met a man that was so dedicated to his job and his skill craft. And he went through emergency surgery, woke up in the hospital in the cache over there, and he had already had his leg taken. And the story I got was one of the first things out of his mouth is, "Am I going to be able to jump again?" You know, I guess all paratroopers kind of think that when we get hurt, you know, am I going to be able to jump again? You know, and the next question was, are his guys okay? You know, are his guys okay? And you know, I ran into him a few months after we got back. He came by the unit and was out of Walter Reed and on his way to healing, you know, as best he could anyway. And we had a little conversation, but it wasn't an in-depth conversation. But I got mad respect for that cat, man. He's just one of many guys that I know that really are the epitome of what being a paratrooper is all about, you know. But yeah, Iraq was an interesting time, man. It was an interesting time. And then the second time I went back was a lot better because now I was supply, right?
Oh, okay.
I switched my MOS from air defender to supply, stayed in Bravo Battery, took over the supply room, and we deployed 06, 07 timeframe. And now I was straight up. If I didn't have a reason to go off base, I wasn't going.
Right.
Because I didn't lose. First time I was over there, I didn't have a purpose to be out there trying to lose second time, you know. But man, I tell you what, I wouldn't trade my time with the folks that we served with for anything, you know. And the list of names.
Yeah, do me a favor, Troy. List some of those names. Just whatever comes to your mind. Just spout off a name or two.
Oh man, Tim Hockenberry, Steve Burnley, Teddy Knight. You know, Sergeant Major Adams. Just to name a few. You know, Sergeant Edwards, Thagard. There's a name for you. You know, Cook, Mustard. You know, there's a whole list of guys. You know, the Cameron Copelands of the world, and you know, Paul Albrights. You know, I saw you talk to him the other night on the computer. you know, these guys are the people that helped make that unit what it was, you know, and I can't speak for what it is, but I know from my time there, what it was when, you know, we were the creme de la creme of the Bachelor Brigade, so to speak. We used to kick ass and take names, man, for a bunch of air defenders that weren't supposed to be hardcore. We were some pretty hardcore dudes, man.
We kind of went overboard with that a little bit, didn't we?
But seeing that guy with the SMJP behind you there, it's like, man, the stories that could be told from the folks that have jumped that thing,
right?
You know, and even the standard setting that came out of that battalion, you know, we have guys that are truly standard setters in the 82nd Airborne and the airborne community, you know, just you and Maggot alone. I mean, I don't think the 82nd would be nearly as proficient if it wasn't for you two, you know. I know that you had a heavy hand in rewriting part of the ASOP and revamping it for, I think it was edition 5 or something like that. Maggot, he was very instrumental in actually developing the Stinger missile jump pack configuration as it currently is, you know. And guys like that, man, are so hard to come by, few and far between. You know, and then everybody wonders, well, where's all the hype come from? You got to dig a little bit, but it's there. It's there, man.
Right,
you know?
Yeah. So tell me about a soldier. Is there a soldier that you developed that you're really proud of? Somebody that you maybe mentored, or someone you still pray for or care about?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My soldier Signs, Robert Signs, he was a green private when he got to the unit, man. And he was one of these cats that I didn't have to put a whole lot of boot leather behind, so to speak, you know. But I watched him develop from a kid that used to start sweating when we had to take a VCR test, you know, to just a top-notch soldier. When we were actually downrange, this kid went through 2 passings of grandparents, like almost back to back within a couple of weeks of one another. And, you know, did it affect him? Yeah, it did. But you know what? He kept at it, and he kept doing his job. And I can honestly say, I don't think we would have made it through Iraq in one piece holistically if I wasn't teamed up with him and another cat named Robert Bennell. And I mentioned Sergeant Edmiston. That was my crew. You know, we were Bull 2-4, man. We were rocking it. And we went through so much stuff together, but Robert Signs, man, he was probably the one dude that really stands out in my mind. He later went on and transitioned out of air defense and became a pack dude, man. He's a personnel, became a pack guru. And I think he's now retired also and still working for the government, kind of like myself, you know. I'm doing supply for the Air Force now.
Oh, great.
You know, that's it's great, yes, but it's so different than what I'm
yeah. Yeah, different, totally different mentality, different mission, different
Yeah,
work.
the mindset is totally different.
Right.
And,
Tell me about being a paratrooper. Tell me about your dealings with people that were paratroopers and maybe soldiers that maybe weren't. Did you notice a difference?
big difference.
Tell me
Big
about
difference. You know, one of the things that always stands out to me is every paratrooper I've ever met basically has the, oh, let's rub some dirt on it and keep going
right.
type, take a knee, face out, drink water, hum, frick, frack, whatever. But that you only find that in a paratrooper mentality. I've met guys that weren't airborne, but they had the mentality.
Right.
And I'm sure you've had them in units that you've served in around the Army. We all know those guys. They're just hard as woodpecker lips, man. And they get after it day in, day out. But when I left the airborne community, I noticed a whole different side of the Army that I didn't even know existed. Because there was people that thought differently than the way we were taught to think. And, they were like, well, training out, we're not going to do PT. Why not? Okay, you're going to get wet anyway, sweating. So you might as well go out in the rain and do PT. If it's not lightning out, it ain't going to kill you. And that was the big difference that I noticed. After I left Fort Bragg, I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, and worked in TRADOC up there at the ordnance school as a supply guy. And maintainers, they're a different breed of to themselves as in their own right. But it was interesting to see, from the cadre side, the different mentality you see between former paratroopers or people that are paratroopers and are going back to that, and people that have never stepped foot inside of an Air Force aircraft ever,
Okay.
Let alone in a rig. But yeah, big, huge difference.
So, one of these days your family is going to look back on these times and these memories that you've shared with us. And, do you have a message to those that love you, that might, wonder about, a message that you might have for them?
Well, I guess the biggest thing I'd want to pass on is, I valued my time in the military immensely. It's what made me who I am as a person. I wouldn't be who I am without my time in the military, obviously. But, even with some rough patches in the road and getting knocked back down a couple times as far as my ego goes, I'm definitely proud of the time that I served, and I'm proud of the time that I served our country. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat if my body was able to, and I was younger and, could go back. And I get asked that question a lot. If you could go back and do it all over again, would you? Hell yes, in a heartbeat.
Right.
And especially if I got to serve with some of the guys that I served with the first time.
Yeah. We truly had some wonderful folks that we served with, for sure.
We did.
Yeah.
We did, and I think back to like when I first got to Fort Bragg and was in 3rd Herd down there in Charlie Battery, you know, and in our little platoon room right there on the 3rd floor, and you know, throwing darts at lunchtime and watching Young and the Restless. So we had the dart tournament going on, and then we had old Teddy I and some of the guys watching Young and the Restless before they had to go back to the motor pool at 1300. You know, those are the kind of memories that I have. Little things, you know. I couldn't tell you what I had for dinner last night, but I can remember certain things about that time in my life, you know, that really bring back memories, man. The 0230 Holland drop zone leg breaks, you know, and because I actually did, like, my 3rd jump in division, I broke my leg on Holland drop zone.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was with who was I with that night? I was jumping with, we were with 3rd Brigade, and it was my first like combat night jump, you know what I mean? And I remember Sergeant Horsley, he says, "Man, be careful of Holland, man. That place messed up." And
That ain't no lie.
and man, I came out, and I'm doing this leapfrog deal with this cat coming down, and I lost.
Oh no.
You know, so I burned in from about 30 foot up, you know, cracked my right tibia pretty good. And that specific night, there was a bunch of guys get hurt, man. I think like one of the lieutenant colonels had gotten hurt. There was a bunch of us, man. So there was the 2 FLAs that were on the drop zone that night. Both of them were full, like to the gills. There was like 8 dudes on mine going to Walmack, you know, and get to Walmack and get the x-rays. They finally come back and they tell me it's broke. I was like, man, that sucks. So yeah, just different stuff like that, man. Good times, just straight up good times.
Got any memorabilia sitting around there to show? You got any?
I don't. I got a little bit upstairs on the wall in the living room. I've got a plaque up there. The nameplate has fallen off of it. I gotta get that fixed, but I got the plaque from when I won the Battalion Trooper of the Month competition back in the day. And you know, that was actually thanks to you in a lot of ways, man. Because like Albright said, you were the mentor when it came to the boards and how to study for them and how to prepare. And you know, I mentioned, you know, you taught me how to spin my brass so that I had those real fine little lines on there that just make it pop, man. And on the old brass, it worked great, you know. And I ran with that until I switched over to Stay Bright stuff, you know, when we got the new uniforms. But man, on those greens, man, you can't beat that little trick. And I had sergeant majors be like, "Man, what's going on with your brass? That looks awesome." Well, it's just that's what it is. You know, just awesome.
I love it. Well,
But,
Troy, it's been awesome to talk with you. Thanks so much for taking the time and the opportunity.
Sure. It
It's
is my
amazing.
honor. You know, if I could be a part of something that not only helps me kind of vent a little bit, but you know, helps reach other guys and gives them an idea to, you know, just share your memories, man. That's all it boils down to. It's a good way to stay in touch with folks, and a good way to just refresh your memory a little bit about your time. You know, we should all be proud of the time we spent in the military. Man.
Amen.
And I know a lot of us have the aches and pains to prove it, that I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook or not. I've posted a couple times, join the paratroopers. They said it'll be fun. They said, then I go to a chiropractor twice a month, and see my stuff there. And my wife brought down some of the stuff.
Look at that.
Yeah, this is my first re-enlistment back in 92, November. And
who's that with you?
That's me, my mom, and that's Lieutenant Jobs. I don't know if you remember
I remember Alton Jobs. I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that swore me in. I was a specialist back then. And we did that in the room over there in battalion with the flags. I can't remember what they called it.
Regimental room, I think.
Regimental room, yeah. And let's see, this is when I left Delta Battery.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. Oh, yeah.
That was when I got out of the Army the first time. They gave me that one. And then this is when I left. When I finally left the 108. I was in the 108 ADA brigade up there.
Awesome.
Left that. And this is the one I was telling you about, that's missing the placard from the month and my name and stuff. But they gave us these back then for winning the Trooper of the Month.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of old dudes, man, that probably got those things sitting around. But then, I've also got like the Murphy's Laws of Combat on the wall, and my flag and in the box that came in and stuff. But yeah, man, I'm not real big on memorabilia, so to speak. I never had a bunch of like I love me wall stuff. But I got a few things that kind of make me stop and think every once in a while. Those are good times, man.
Amen. Well, Troy, I salute you. Thank you so much for your service to our country. I enjoyed every minute serving with you. You were just a fine example of the American soldier, paratrooper in every way. And I enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And, we'll be in touch about the next step. Okay.
Okay, man.
Love you, brother.
Good talk. Love you too, man.
All right. Bye.
Take it easy.